Well, a lot of you have given me enormous amounts of grief over the last steak we cooked for you. It was a ribeye, and we did it restaurant style, and while I believe in the technique, and I know we did the technique correctly, we did overcook it. It came out medium well, instead of that lovely pink rare to medium rare that I know a lot of you like. So we're going to do it again today. We're going to use a New York strip. And this is a prime New York strip that I got from Costco. It's really lovely. It's not as well marbled as some you might see. But then again, it cost half the price. Now, one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to trim off this large band of fat on the outside. Not everybody does this because it does result in a steak looking maybe a little bit odd because you've got this little peninsula of cartilage coming into the steak that you're going to cut out. And it may give it the steak not the most beautiful restaurant style appearance. However, it does help because it's not going to exude a lot of extra fat into the pan. You're going to cut this piece off anyway, and I figure if you're going to have a surface of the steak, you might as well have it browned nicely. So I'm going to cut it off. I have a boning knife here, which is quite flexible. And I'm just going to go in along the edge of the fat and let the meat guide me. I'm getting a little bit of meat here, but that's not a big deal because I'm saving all this for stock, as you've seen me do before. So we didn't really do too badly. There's not a lot of meat left on this fat, but we got most of it trimmed off. And then we have a steak here, which is actually sort of a nice little size and shape. A little bit of fat still left on the outside, but not too bad. So we're going to season it up as we always do, liberally, with a fair amount of kosher salt. Remember, this is a pretty thick piece of meat, so you want to salt it pretty well. And then mop up the rest of the salt on your cutting board. Don't waste any. Okay? So now we have a very lovely steak here. It's just a little bit over an inch thick. We're going to give it about 10 minutes total, not the 14 or so minutes we gave that last steak. So here we go into the pan. Brown that, let that brown for about a minute. So after a minute, on one side, lovely color. We're going to turn it over, brown the other side. One more minute. I have my oven preheating all the way up at about 500, 550 degrees. It's going to go in the oven as soon as we're done browning this last side. Now into the oven for about 8 minutes. Out of the oven. And onto a plate. We're going to let it rest there for about 5 minutes. Well, it's been 5 minutes. Now's the moment of truth. Let's see if it's overcooked or not. Feels pretty rare, I got to tell you. Let's cut into it and see how we did. Hasn't lost a lot of juices. Wow, the other side's really nice colored, so we'll do that. I'm so nervous. Yep, I think that's a lot better than our last one. That's definitely rare to medium rare. I guess a lot of people would call that medium rare. If you're in a fancy big city steakhouse, they might even go as far as calling that medium. I find it really varies based on where you are. But in any event, I think that's perfectly done. Pretty happy with the way that came out. So here we have a perfectly pan-roasted, sort of baked in the oven, roasted in the oven, pan-seared New York steak.